Winning in 1992 was one thing, but many key players would not be back in '93. And the question on everybody's mind was, could the Blue Jays do it all over again? No team had won back-to-back world championships in 15 years, and the Blue Jays were asking a lot from their returning players. But if any team knew how to win, this one did. Back to back, the story of the 1993 Toronto Blue Jays.
Yes, world champs are back again. Time to repeat.
But first, time to limber up.
Bam!
Hey, you know, if you can't beat them, join them.
So Paul Molitor joined the Blue Jays in the offseason. Ed Sprague moved over to third. And there was also a new shortstop, Dick Schofield. And a new starting pitcher, Dave Stewart.
Now they ask you what you're going to do for an encore. You know, what are you going to do? And then hopefully we're going to do what, you know, no other team has done since the 77, 78 Yankees. We want to back-to-back this thing.
Maybe the team that cuts heads together wins pennants together.
And you go with the smaller look, style. Got a little ball spot back here in the back, but that's natural. Oh, baby. Hey, you can't look no better than that.
On April 9th, at their season home opener, the Blue Jays couldn't have felt any better. In front of a sold-out Sky Dome, they proudly accepted their World Championship rings.
That's a day that you will never forget. It's a World Champion ring. It's a lot of guys out there that have been playing for 15 or 20 years in the big leagues and never have a ring.
But getting that ring was probably the epitome of what every baseball player dreams of. And it finally coming true. You waited so long for that ring. You were just, you know, smiling from ear to ear.
The Blue Jays were now on a quest to repeat. And in the home opener, Ed Sprague got them off to a convincing start.
Breaking ball, lash to left. Bell turns. Goodbye, Sprague. Homers on opening day. 3-2 Toronto.
3 more hits followed. And for the first time in his young career, Sprague had a 4-hit, 4 RBI day. As much as any player, Sprague symbolized the '93 Blue Jays.
Hard hit ball by Sprague. Gone in a heartbeat. Home run, it's Sprague.
A team loaded with offense up and down the lineup. In his first full season, Sprague hit 12 homers and drove in 73 runs. All that from the 7th spot in the order. And in taking over third base, he showed a pretty fair knack for the hot corner.
Ball and a strike and a bunted ball. Up with it is Sprague. Guns to first. Great play.
When it came to great contributions from Joe Carter, the Blue Jays just had to count the ways.
Hammered by Joe Carter. It's way back and gone. 3-run home run, Joe Carter.
Hit well. Buhner can't catch up with it. It's off the wall. Extra bases for Carter, and the Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead.
As if to say, wind me up and let me go. Carter was off and swinging right from the start.
That's a fair ball. Alomar will score easily in this ball that ricochets off the wall in left field. It's a double for Carter.
When it comes to a sure thing, Joe Carter is it. On the way to his usual 30 home run, 100 RBI season, he started the year with a club record 25 RBIs in April.
Carter running hard. Around second, he's on his way to third. The throw, not in time. Bounces away, and Carter's on his way home. There's the throw. He scores. 8-5 Toronto. What a trip.
Every year you know what you're going to get. You're going to get your 30 home runs and you're going to get your 100 RBIs. And it seems like every year he keeps putting up the same numbers.
Left field. It's deep. Joe Carter with his 30th home run of the year.
You know, this is a ball club. You know, you can't help but get 100 RBIs.
Base hit to Joe Carter.
Toronto.
That's 100 on the season for Joe Carter.
Joe is such a competitor. I don't think Joe would even let his kids win at a game that he was playing. If they were just playing a game, Joe's gonna win that game.
Once again, Joe Carter is the hero of Skydo.
RBIs, man, 100 every year. He's a clutch hitter. He gets big hits for the team all the time.
Carter smoking. He's hit it a long ways, and he's hit a grand slam home run.
That's my job, and I know that every year I'm going to hit at least 30 home runs and drive in 100 RBIs. It's just how many more after that, I don't know. But whatever it takes to win the ball games, I'm up there doing my best.
While Carter was coming up big in April, Jack Morris, the ace of '92, was floundering. On May 1st, he got rocked by the White Sox, and then went on the disabled list for 3 weeks. Soon after, shortstop Dick Schofield broke his arm, and things got worse. The Blue Jays lost 6 of 8 and dropped below 500. It was only May, but they had to wonder if this was a sign of things to come. Then on May 13th, Dave Stewart came off the disabled list to face first-place Detroit. And all at once, the pitching took a turn for the better. Putting his arm to its first real test of the season, Stewart started the game allowing 3 hits in 3+ innings. Paul Molitor, the man who would be clutch all season, ended it in the bottom of the 9th.
Fly ball, right field. Deers running hard. He won't get to it. Cañate's in to score. White's running hard around third base. The relay held onto by Whitaker, and the Blue Jays win the game.
Having avoided a sweep by the Tigers, Toronto still had to face the second-place Yankees in New York. But for the second straight night, the Blue Jays played comeback. John Olerud delivering the final blow in the top of the 9th.
Hit high in the air by Olerud. Way back. Tarnow's running out of room. It's gone. 2-run home run, John Olerud. And the Blue Jays have taken the lead, 8-6.
Sparked by Ole's homer, the Blue Jays scored 23 runs in 3 games and took 2 of 3 from the Yankees. It was on to Boston, and the daunting prospect of beating Roger Clemens for the first time in 5 years at Fenway. But Pat Henkin had things well in hand, and so did Toronto's offense.
Olerud hits the ball high in the air and a long ways to center, and it's gone.
A 5-run 6 undid the Rocket.
This is a guy that's just, the best in the game. And for us to go out and beat him, I felt pretty good about that. I felt confident about that. At that point, I felt like I belonged and I could stay here and I could win.
To say the least. Entering the season with all of 3 major league starts, Henkin was Toronto's biggest winner, going 19-9.
Coming out of spring training, I don't think that you would have ever thunk that he would have won as many games as he has.
Biggest surprise, I think, has been Pat Henkin. Everybody knew he had a good arm. This year, it seems like he just put everything together. He's winning ball games.
To be sure, in a season that often had more downs than ups in the rotation, it's safe to say the Blue Jays would not have won without him. The 25-year-old Henkin didn't just step in as a 4th or 5th starter. He went straight to the head of the pack, at one point winning 7 straight decisions.
Got him looking. Curveball and a beauty.
It's just been a great year for me, and I've been able to get a lot of run support, which is very pivotal when it comes to wins and losses. And fortunately, I've been able to keep us in the game most of the year.
On May 21st, the Blue Jays came home red hot. They won 6 in a row, including victory number 356 for Cito Gaston, making him the winningest manager in Blue Jay history.
I think that Cito's influence is that Cito imparts to the players, that's what our goal is, to win. We want to win.
But in the face of a problematic pitching staff, Cito's patience became as helpful to the Blue Jays as any decision he made.
I think there were times during the season when other people were throwing up their hands and in disgust because there were times that we were winning games 11-8, 10-9, etc. And it was purely through our offense that we were able to stay where we were. But Cito didn't give up.
The players on this ball club have a lot of heart. Their backs have been to the wall a few times this year, tied for first, but never gave it up. And they always come out fighting.
A resilient Blue Jay team was often winning at the end of May. In Oakland, Dave Stewart got a warm greeting from his old fans. But business was business. And against the A's, business really picked up in Game 3. John Olerud led Toronto on a wild comeback that saw every Blue Jay batter in the lineup get at least one hit. And what had been a 10-6 Oakland lead ended up a 13-11 Toronto victory. The Blue Jays were winning the hard way. And when they went to California, no one helped the cause more than John Olerud. In the opener, he cut loose, not once.
Deep to right field. Back goes Salmon. It is way out of here.
But twice.
Well, he hits that one deep to right field. Salmon going back. Olerud with back-to-back home runs.
The Blue Jays tagged Angels pitching for 9 homers in 3 games. From John Olerud to Pat Borders, Toronto's power was spreading up and down the lineup.
And Borders smokes one deep left. Back goes Polonia, and he says, see you later to that one.
The Blue Jays and Pat Borders were on a roll. They swept the Angels with 25 runs in 3 games. But if Borders' bat was an asset, his glove was a must.
So, I mean, Borders will just about block anything that you throw up there, and he sacrificed his body.
Good stop, but Pat Borders had to pay the price.
Plays hard, plays every day.
And there's nothing like having a number 8 hitter who produces 9 homers and 55 RBIs.
There's a long drive to left field. Touch them all, Pat Borders.
On June 5th, the Blue Jays won their 7th straight game and climbed into a virtual first-place tie with Detroit. But Dick Schofield was still out of action. His backup, Alfredo Griffin, was sidelined for 2 weeks. And his backup, Domingo Cedeno, wasn't quite ready to step in. So the Blue Jays went to New York to scout an unhappy and unproductive Tony Fernandez.
When we sent Epi Guerrero there, and he saw Tony play for a week, he said, I don't think there's anything physically wrong with him. I said, I just don't think he ever got on track here. And I think that it would be a breath of fresh air for him if he was able to get out of New York and get another opportunity here with the Blue Jays.
Tony played his first game on June 12th, and whatever problems he had had in New York were nowhere to be found in Toronto.
Tony Fernandez's move this year was probably Pat's best deal in contributing to this team being successful. Early in the season, he had to hit behind John Olerud, who was getting intentionally walked daily, came up with a lot of big hits.
Like this one against Detroit after Olerud was intentionally walked.
Fastball that is driven deep, way up to right field, way up in the second deck. Home run, Tony Fernandez, he'll cash in 3 more. 10-3 Toronto.
Talk about a guy who's happy to return.
I wasn't too sure how the people were going to respond to my second coming into this place, but it came out good.
Here's a ground ball up the middle. Fernandez makes a nice play and turns 2.
Back with the Blue Jays, a reborn Tony Fernandez stabilized the infield and contributed every which way, not to mention batting .379 in his first month back.
Here's a hot hand of Fernandez at evidence again.
Oh, nicely done.
Fernandez at short gets the play.
Fernandez to Griffin. Fernandez bunted the ball by Phil Hines. Fernandez to right field. Rob Deere is going back, and and that one is gone.
I think the fun is back in my game, especially because we are winning. And when you're winning, things are a lot easier.
Of all the comings and goings in 1993, the arrival of Rob Butler was one Blue Jay fans won't forget. Butler debuted at Skydome on June 17th and did what every hometown ball player dreams of doing.
To left field and sinking fast, it's in for a hit. And the Toronto native, in his first at bat in a Blue Jay uniform at Skydome, picks up his first Major League RBI.
No one was happier than Butler's parents, who were on hand to witness the event. As for Butler and the Blue Jays, they swept 4 from the Red Sox and kept right on winning. Blue Jay fever was running sky high, and thanks to a sponsor, it was bottled into a new anthem.
Whenever they're in town, Jays always shine. Whenever there's a crowd, there's always a good time. Whenever there's a hit, there's always a run. You know it's always fun watching Blue Jays baseball, yeah. Watching Blue Jays baseball. The sun will always shine, the fans are having fun. As long as there are hits, there'll always be home runs. Whenever there's a play, there's always a cheer. Whenever there's fun, there's always Coca-Cola, yeah. Coca-Cola, yeah. Always Coca-Cola.
To be sure, the Blue Jays were the real thing. And no player was generating more excitement than John Olerud. Hitting in a class all by himself, Olerud launched a sensational assault on Ted Williams, the last batter to hit 400. It was a dream season that Olerud hardly figured on having.
Last year was my best year, hitting 284, and I think coming into the year, I felt like hitting 300 was a reasonable goal to shoot for. 20 or more home runs and 80 or more RBIs. That's what I was shooting for, and you know, this is all uncharted waters for me, so just sort of keep going and see, you know, how well I can finish up.
The only thing more mesmerizing than Olerud's chase of 400 was the swing that was launching 1,000 adjectives.
Very controlled swing. Look at that. Head doesn't hardly move. Short stride, and boy, those hands come through quick.
He continues to come up with hit after hit after hit.
Stays right on, gets great extension. Good example of how your head stays engaged. It stays close to the plate, allows you to get through the ball.
Stays on the ball, chokes up on the bat a little bit.
Well, this is just the textbook swing. If you wanted to take pictures and put it in a book, that's the swing to do it with right there.
It's like a camera. Picture perfect. It's Kodak moment every time he swings. Everything's the same. You never see him get fooled. Never. Oh, this is serious here against California. When he just, everything he hit went out. What, he hit 4 home runs that series?
Here comes the natural, and he blasts the first pitch. Olerud hit it a ton. It's gone. Home run. Unbelievable.
You know, that's something that they've always tried to get me to do, is be more aggressive early in the count, because in years past, I would really get behind in the count and have to hit some tough pitches and battle back. And I think this year I just got off to a good start, did a better job of being aggressive early in the count.
Watch his follow through. Head is always down. That is a big key. You never see him come up like this where his head comes out. His head is always down through the hitting zone, and he just follows the ball just like a golf swing. Boom, follow the ball. You can't teach that.
Olerud was a model of consistency. In June, he drove in 30 runs, batted .427, and for the better part of the month, never came up empty.
A shot to left field. He's hit in 26.
The major's longest hit streak of 93, and the longest ever by a Blue Jay. That night, Olerud got 3 more hits and brought his average to .411. As for the bigger cause, beating the Yankees, the final blow came from Pat Borders.
Inside, pulled down the line, extra bases for Borders. Here comes Olerud to score.
For the second straight game, the Blue Jays rallied back and in the process brought their winning streak to 7. They were now 1 game out. The streak burst the next day, but then Devon White started things off with a bang.
Fly ball over the head of Williams and gone. Home run, Devon White.
Devo's motto was, ask and you shall receive. If the Jays wanted speed, he stole 34 bases. If they wanted runs, he scored 116. And if they wanted power,
Drills that. That's deep.
he had that too.
That's gone. A 2-run shot this time. White second of the day.
Devon White, first pitch swinging, drills one into the seats in right center field. Devon White is hot today. That ball skips to the wall. He's got extra bases again.
But in Devo's world, center stage was center field.
I don't know what Willie Mays was like, but it's hard to imagine anybody playing center field better than Devon White does.
People, I think, they know of Devon White. I don't think people appreciate him as much as us pitchers do.
Chris Hoyles hits a high fly ball to right center field. Caught at the wall by Devon White. He's hit the ball very hard to left center, way back, and it's caught by Devon White. Maldonado hits the ball in the air to center field. Devon White moving back, makes the catch, and then crashes into the wall.
Headed for the gap. Even White. Torcani, yes, he caught up with it.
Center field, and there's Devon White to vacuum it up.
On June 26, the Blue Jays went to Milwaukee and played comeback. Joe Carter came up in the top of the 9th with the score tied and did the honors.
Joe Carter has given Toronto a 3-2 lead here in the top of the 9th inning.
And finally, after coming close all season, the Blue Jays were in first place all alone. But July came in with a whimper. First, a 3-game sweep by Kansas City. Then at Sky Dome, a frustrating loss to Chicago, their 4th loss in a row. So, the Blue Jays donned their road caps at home and gave the White Sox a taste of what they'd been going through. They held Chicago to 1 run, and for the first time in a week, they were winners.
That officially finishes off the losing streak.
The regular Caps were back on the next day, but the slump continued. The Blue Jays lost 10 of 11, and yet, strangely enough, ended the first half in first place. On July 12th in Baltimore, the American League All-Stars looked more like the Toronto All-Stars.
Being world champions, we had a lot of people. We got a lot of publicity last year, and now, the Toronto Blue Jays are definitely on the map. Having 7 guys and we have 3 or 4 coaches, the only way you can contradict that or take care of that is, let the other team win the World Series, but we're not going to do that. Cito will be picking again next year.
Michael Jordan, who knows a thing or two about repeating, came to Baltimore to hobnob with baseball's all-stars, who were just happy to be among the chosen few. As for the game, Cito and his all-stars romped on the National League with help from Roberto Alomar.
Andy Bettis, the new pitcher, greeted by Roberto Alomar and a home run.
Like Alomar, whose homer tied the game, Joe Carter wasn't content to just be an all-star, and neither was Devon White.
He was probably criticized more than anyone as being part of the all-star team, but I know that Devo's an all-star player.
Come on, Devo. Oh, boy, Devo. Throw him out there. Run it, Albert. Run it, Albert.
White says, I'm an all-star with a base hit down the right field line.
Oh, boy, Devo.
There was still one more Blue Jay to be heard from, Dwayne Ward. He came on in the ninth and preserved Cito's first All-Star victory. As fun as the game was, one Blue Jay was unfortunately not there to enjoy it.
It's been busy. It's been a lot of fun. Hope to do it again next year. The only sad thing about it is my third base coach was in an automobile accident, so that put a little bit of a damper on it. But we'll pray for him and hope that everything works out okay for him and his family.
2 days before the All-Star game, Rich Hacker was badly injured in a car accident and went into a coma. The season would go on, but Hacker's absence ended the first half on a sobering note. The Blue Jays came out of the All-Star break a little sluggish and dropped into a first-place tie. But on July 18th, in a game against Kansas City, they got an unexpected jolt from Willie Kenyatte in the bottom of the ninth.
And Kenyatte to left field. That is back. That is gone, and the kid with it. The storybook finish at the Sky Dome. His first big league home run.
Who knows, if we win the division by one game, there you go, Willie Kenyatte, home run in the ninth.
With that victory, the Blue Jays snapped out of their slump and went to Chicago all fired up. They blew the White Sox away in one game, and then in the finale subdued them with great pitching from the bullpen. The next night in Texas, it took the ninth inning clout of John Olerud to finally bring down the Rangers.
Inside pitch hit high in the air and way back to right field and gone. Home run, John Olerud. And just like that, the Blue Jays have the lead again.
The Blue Jays ran into a snag the next night against their ex, Tom Henke. But Dave Stewart picked them right back up in Game 3, beating the Rangers 5-1. On Sunday, Henke thought he survived a scare from Roberto Alomar in the ninth.
Swings away, and it's a high.
Yeah, everybody stops. Even the announcer. He said it was a foul ball.
Foul down the left field line.
Oh no, he was fair.
No, it's fair.
When I came home and I saw it on TV, it was kind of funny, but it was a good hit.
Better than that, it was a 3-run homer to win the game. The Blue Jays were hot, and back at Sky Dome, there was nothing Baltimore could do to stop them. Every time the Orioles got a lead, Toronto came back.
Borders hits the ball up the middle. Ripken dives, knocks it down, throws to first, not in time. The Blue Jays lead as Olerud scores. It's 6-5.
How's this for an encore the next night? Down 2 runs in the 6th, win it in the 10th.
Jays win 5-4.
Even against Detroit, Cito got the last laugh.
Here's the 3-2 pitch. He hits the ball into the gap in left center field. It heads to the wall. In to score is Griffin. Turner Ward's right behind him. Devon White cruises in. It's a triple and 3 runs in. The Blue Jays lead 7-4.
The way Toronto was playing, this was getting to be routine. Another day, another comeback.
David Wells, 1-0 pitch. Line drive to center field, base hit for Randy Knorr. Bobbled by Kyler, and it's all the way to the wall. Kenyate's in to score easily.
Even 1 out away from victory in the finale, a Tiger lead wasn't safe.
Ground ball, fair ball, base hit. The Blue Jays win.
What a stretch. 6 wins in 7 games, and all 6 were comebacks. But as well as Toronto was playing, Pat Gillick felt something more was needed. And during the Tiger series, he traded for the game's supreme leadoff hitter, Rickey Henderson, and got power, speed, and 15 years of experience. The Blue Jays would need it all when they went to Yankee Stadium on August 2nd. First place was on the line, and Toronto was all charged up.
Mattingly hits the first pitch in the air to left field. Kenyatte makes the catch. Bonds tags. He's on his way home. Borders has got him.
If Blue Jays defense didn't get the Yankees, their offense did. Devon White's 6-inning homer snapped a 0-0 tie as Toronto held on to win the opener. In Game 2, Ricky's Blue Jay debut came with all the trimmings: 2 walks, a hit, 2 runs scored, and defensive artistry. And there was nothing any of the Yankees' 7 pitchers could do against Toronto's lineup.
2-1 pitch, base hit to left field. Henderson scores. Devon White is being waved behind him, and the Blue Jays have a 7-4 lead.
And 9 wins in 10 games. But then the Yankees turned the tables. What Toronto did in the first 2 games, the Yankees were doing in the next 2. And just when it looked as though the Blue Jays might open up their first-place lead, it slipped back down to 1. The Blue Jays came home on August 6th and waged a valiant battle against the Brewers. But Pat Listash came up in the top of the 11th and put Milwaukee back on top.
This ball's hit well to center field. Devon White racing back and can't get it. It's over his head. Ground rule double. 1 run scores, but Spires has to go back to third. The Brewers get the lead 9-8.
Milwaukee wasn't through. Al Leiter, Toronto's 6th pitcher of the game, got himself into a bases-loaded jam he couldn't get out of.
Ball 4. He walked in a run. Surhoff gets credit for an RBI. Spires jogs home, and the Brewers go up 10-8.
But Ricky Henderson came up with a runner on in the bottom of the 11th and answered back with some noise of his own.
Score. Henderson is in with a triple.
Ricky scored on Devon White's triple, and 4+ hours after it began, John Olerud cashed in on a drawn-in outfield.
And hits that one over the head of Yount. Ball game is over. Blue Jays win 11-10.
It was the Blue Jays' 22nd win in their last at-bat, and it set them on a roll. 8 wins in 12 games. But when they played Seattle on August 20th, they unraveled. Whatever could go wrong, did. The Blue Jays' usually reliable defense faltered. They lost 3 out of 4, and instead of gaining ground on the Yankees, they dropped back into a first-place tie. Something had to be done, and in one game, Joe Carter tried to turn things around all by himself.
Here Alomar's at second base. Joe Carter's up, swings at the first pitch, hits it a long ways to center field. It's way back and gone. Home run, Joe Carter.
4 innings later, Carter struck again.
Carter hits the ball a mile. It's gone. Home run, Joe Carter.
And now I'm thinking, hey, I've got a chance with 3, and I'm definitely going to go for it. In the last at bat, I hit a high fly down the left field line, and 3 guys gather around it, and the ball falls between them. And I say, hey, this could be destiny.
This one he hits hard to left field. It's way back and gone. Home run, Joe Carter. He's hit his 3rd home run of the game.
When I came to the dugout, everybody congratulated me and everything. I don't think anybody really knew. And then I looked at the camera, and I put up a hand, I said, that's 5. And nobody knew what I was talking about at first. They thought I was maybe waving at somebody or something, and they finally figured out what was going on.
5th time in Joe's career he's hit 3 homers in a game. He's also set the American League record that was previously held by Lou Gehrig. He's passed Lou.
Unfortunately, we lost the game 9-8, so it didn't do me any good.
But Joe's still scorching bat did the Blue Jays a whole lot of good the next night when he slammed his 8th homer in 10 games.
Carter hits the ball way back in left, and it's gone. Home run, Joe Carter. Again. Is he zoned in or what?
But on this night, it wasn't just Carter who was zoned in.
Ripped by Coles, way back and gone. Home run, Darnell Coles.
The Blue Jays were back in first place as Dwayne Ward pitched out of a ninth-inning jam.
Ground ball, could be 2 to end the game. Fernandez to Allroot, double play, and that's the ball game. Dwayne Ward has his club record 35th save.
All that from a guy who used to be second banana.
This guy's got 40-some saves, man. He's got the best breaking ball in the American League. Go get Ward, get him on camera.
Ward not only stepped out of Tom Henke's shadow, he surpassed his accomplishments, and with 45 saves, became the first Blue Jay ever to lead the league. Whenever the call came, Ward was ready.
It doesn't matter if it's in the 6th inning or if it's in the 9th inning. I mean, you got to go out there and you got to be prepared to pitch, and you got to, to me, I always get, emotionally high anyway whenever I get, walk through that door in the bullpen. The minute I walk out on that field, I mean, the adrenaline starts pumping and I'm ready to go.
Called third strike. Dwayne Ward struck out the side.
When you get to the 8th or 9th inning and you know Dwayne Ward's coming through that bullpen, getting ready to get on the mound, you got to feel pretty comfortable because he shuts the door almost every time.
On August 26, the Blue Jays went to Seattle and lost 3 straight, one time blowing a 6-run lead in the 6th inning. Finally, on Sunday, Roberto Alomar brought them out of it.
2-0 fastball, hit in the air to left field. It's way back to the wall, and it's gone! Grand slam, home run, Roberto Alomar!
Robbie was headed for 17 homers, 8 more than his previous season high.
Well, this was my best season. I never thought that I would hit this many home runs.
Fly ball, right field, way back and gone! Another home run for Roberto Alomar. Pow!
I never thought that I'd drive in so many runs.
And with one swing, Alomar hikes his RBI total to 91.
Yeah, I think so. It's been my best season in maybe in baseball.
That is his 1,000th hit, and he wants the baseball.
I can go out there and let my ability just play the game.
Now there's a ground ball up the middle. Alomar backhands it over to first. Ground ball for Alomar. Nice play. Ground ball to Roberto Alomar. Has to be quick to get Phillips. Bounced it up and got him.
I can steal bases. Now I hit for power, and I can do little things.
Alomar is on his way to third base. Alomar is coming in to score! Yes!
I remember this one time in Baltimore. Maybe I'm being a little selfish because it was the day that I pitched, but I was pitching against Ben McDonald, and it was 1-0. He was winning, and it was the 9th inning, and Robbie was on second with nobody out, and in the 9th inning, and he stole third, and I thought to myself, man, nobody out stealing third, but it ended up winning the game for us because they had to bring the infield in.
Allroot got kind of like a soft line drive between second and first, and the ball went through. If I would have stood on second base, it could be a double play.
The way Alomar was playing, he could do no wrong. The Blue Jays, on the other hand, could do no right. After sweeping in Oakland, they lost 3 straight in Anaheim and came home on September 7th only to be swept again, blowing late-inning leads all 3 times. The only good news was that the Yankees weren't winning either. They lost 5 out of 6, and instead of climbing into first place, the best they could do was a tie.
When we lost 6 in a row in September and didn't relinquish first place, I think psychologically it gave our club a big lift because we were struggling and no one seemed to be able to take advantage. And from that point on, whatever reason, our game got turned on from pitching and offense and defense, and we just haven't looked back since.
Molitor to the gap in right center field.
Just as it happened all season, losing gave way to winning. And sure enough, Molitor had a lot to do with the turnaround. He helped sweep the Angels, and in the process became the oldest major leaguer ever to have 100 RBIs.
I knew I'd have a chance if I could be healthy once again because of the guys in front of me, and sure enough, it's happened. And It does make you feel good because after not being in this role and being challenged to try something new and have it to turn out successful, it kind of adds to the enjoyment of reaching a mark like that.
At an age when most stars are declining, Molitor was at his best.
Paulie's unbelievable. I mean, here's a guy, he's 36, 37 years old, and he's having his best season of his career. I mean, his stride, the way he hits the balls they all feel. He comes through in the clutch, he hits the home runs. I mean, anytime you want a big hit, I'd want Molitor up there because he comes through 9 out of 10 times. Molly has done everything that we asked him to do and even much more. I had to say if there was one guy on this team that I thought was our MVP, I'd have to give the vote to Paul Molitor.
The evidence was all there. Molitor hit .332, had 211 hits, and became the oldest player to go 20-20. 22 steals, 22 homers to be exact.
That's hit a long ways by Molitor. No doubt about it, it's gone. Home run, Paul Molitor. 2-2 pitch hit high in the air by Molitor. It's way back and gone.
Molitor was a dream come true for the Blue Jays, proving emphatically that there would be life after 15 years with the Milwaukee Brewers.
In terms of coming here, I have to say it's met and surpassed all expectations because, who could have expected anything better having a chance to go on to postseason play. So it's everything falling into place coming up here to play for the Blue Jays.
On September 14th, the Blue Jays took their winning streak on the road. They swept a pair of wild and crazy games in Detroit and raised their first-place lead to 2.5 games. From Detroit, they went to the Metrodome in Minnesota and kept streaking. Pat Henkin won the first game, Dave Stewart the second, and with their first-place lead up to 3 games, they looked to the red-hot Juan Guzman to complete the sweep. Guzman had not lost a game in 2 months, and against Minnesota, his stuff was as sharp as ever, producing nothing but zeros for 8 innings. Guzman's arm was a force to be reckoned with, and his rigorous conditioning program had as much to do with his effectiveness as his overpowering pitches.
Physically, I work in everything. I work my arm, my leg, my back, everything. I don't want to miss any part of my body so that I can be 100% ready.
Guzman was 100% effective against the Twins, shutting them out 10-0 and bringing Toronto's win streak to 8. Best of all, the Blue Jays brought their first-place lead to 4, and now there was no looking back. Toronto came home on September 21st, and Todd Stottlemyre kept things rolling.
Stottlemyre, complete game, shutout.
Well, the smiles tell it all right there. Pat Borders and Todd Stottlemyre were hitting on all cylinders tonight.
2 wins against the Red Sox gave the Blue Jays a 5-game lead. Finally, it was no longer a question of if. It was simply a matter of when. The Yankees came in for the Blue Jays' final home series. The team that had been on their backs for months was finally out of it. Now, Toronto didn't want New York to play the spoiler.
And right now, Henderson has put the Blue Jays into a 2-1 lead here in the bottom of the 3rd inning.
That was just the beginning. In the hopes of sweeping the series and clinching the title at home, the Blue Jays added 5 more runs in the opener, which was more than enough for Juan Guzman, who held the Yankees in check, winning his 14th game, 7th in a row. New York made some noise in the 9th, but Dwayne Ward stifled it, and the magic number was down to 3. In Game 2, Al Leiter made his first start in more than 3 months. He threw 6 shutout innings, but what Leiter couldn't handle all by himself, he left to his crack staff in the field, which came up clutch time and again.
Strokes the ball to the shortstop. Fernandez to Alomar for one. Over to first. Double play.
And then there was the offense.
Griffin's in to score. Henderson flying in behind him. He'll score. 2 runs in. 3-0 Toronto.
That day, Blue Jay attendance surpassed the 4 million mark. And what a way to celebrate. They won their 90th game and moved one step closer to their 3rd straight postseason.
And that's the ball game. Cito Gaston and the Blue Jays have defeated the New York Yankees 3-1. They've won 12 of their last 13, and the magic number has dropped to 2.
But any hopes of clinching at home were dashed when the Yankees avoided a sweep and beat the Blue Jays 7-3 on Sunday.
And I would have loved to see us clinch here in Toronto, and but things can't always happen the way you want them, and hopefully tomorrow we can end it.
Tomorrow took place at Paul Molitor's old ballpark in Milwaukee. First came a reunion with the fans, then a reminder of how it used to be.
Swings at the first pitch. It's a high fly ball to left. It's way back and gone. Home run, Paul Molitor. How about that for a homecoming?
Molitor's 22nd home run was all the offense Pat Hentgen needed. En route to his 19th win, he threw 6+ shutout innings. And with the East Division title on ice, Toronto was just a Dwayne Ward 9th inning away.
And a 1-2 pitch to him. Ground ball for Tony Fernandez. Alomar for 1. Oru for 2. Double play. That's the ball game. It's a 93-peat. The Blue Jays are champions of the American League East again.
Well, when you start out the season, an organization like this, their goal is to become world champions defending their title. This is a major interim goal that we had for ourselves. I mean, the 162-game test, and of course, hopefully we can be successful and go ahead and defend that title.
The Blue Jays were the proud owners of their 3rd straight division title, their 5th overall. They had returned to glory, and the familiar sounds of victory were rocking from Milwaukee to Toronto.
Whenever they were challenged, they never gave an inch. Casino kept them cool, and now they've got a clinch. Stuart throws a stare, Joe pumps a grin. There's never a doubt about the World Series champions. The World Series champions. When Devo's on the field, he's always snagging flies. When Molitor's at that, the ball's headed for the skies. The Jays of '93, sweet victory is near. Whenever there's fun, there's always Coca-Cola, yeah. Coca-Cola, yeah. Always Coca-Cola.
The Blue Jays were headed to the playoffs, and they had to look no farther than John Olerud, Paul Molitor, and Roberto Alomar to realize how they had done it. With Olerud's league-leading .363 batting average, the 37-year-old Molitor following at .332, and the career-high .326 average by Alomar, Toronto became the first team this century to have the top 3 hitters in the league. That offense led the Blue Jays into Chicago for Game 1 of the playoffs. Michael Jordan threw out the first pitch, and then Blue Jay bats cut loose.
There's a liner into right center field. Lance Johnson on the run! Past him to the wall. The Blue Jays will take the lead. Carter comes around. Olerud into second, and Toronto leads it 4-3.
Paul Molitor made the most of his first postseason appearance in 11 years, collecting 4 hits and 3 RBIs.
Olerud goes. The pitch is hit high and deep in the left center field. Johnson back to the wall, and it's gone! Paul Molitor, 2-run homer to give the Blue Jays a 7-3 lead.
Toronto's offense dominated Game 1 and then came up big for Dave Stewart in Game 2.
And there's a liner in the left field. Base hit, range charges. Molitor's going to try to score, and the throw is far too high. It's 2-1 Blue Jays.
Stewart was in his usual October form. In running his playoff record to 7-0, he pitched the Blue Jays to a 3-1 victory. And with a commanding 2-0 lead, the series moved back to Canada. There, in a tender moment before Game 3, a recovering Rich Hacker wished his players well as he tossed out the ceremonial first pitch. The tribute was a moving one, but the crowd was silenced for the rest of the night by Wilson Alvarez, who shut down Toronto's offense with a complete game 6-1 victory. The next night, the White Sox again outdid the Blue Jays and tied the series at 2 wins apiece. But Juan Guzman untied it in Game 5. He retired the first 13 batters. And for the second time in the ALCS, the Jays rattled Cy Young Award winner Jack McDowell.
And they've got him picked up. McDowell threw it into center field. Henderson will score 1-0 Blue Jays.
Dwayne Ward survived a couple of ninth-inning runs to save the victory and take the series back to Chicago. There, the invincible Dave Stewart was back on the mound for Game 6, and once again in command, winning his 8th straight playoff game. And once again, the bats provided ample support.
White hits this one deep to left field, back and gone!
Itching for a clinch, the Blue Jays had a 6-3 lead and needed one more out.
Hit in the air to right field. Carter has room. And the Blue Jays are going back to the World Series.
Stewart was playoff MVP, and the Blue Jays were pennant winners for the second straight time. 4 victories away from a world championship.
You know, last year was more of a business type attitude. It's like we had one more job to do. Now we're in the World Series, and now getting back there again, we're having some fun.
Indeed, the fun was just beginning. In Game 1, the Phillies put out their best offensive stuff, but Roberto Alomar robbed them every which way. And Toronto's relentless offense never let a Philly lead keep them down.
He hits that one down the right field line and dig, hook in toward the pole. Home run!
A 4-3 Philly lead eventually turned into an 8-5 Toronto victory as Game 1 went to the Blue Jays. In Game 2, Dave Stewart finally lost his postseason magic. He gave up 5 runs in the 3rd inning, and the Blue Jays ultimately came up 2 runs short. The series was all tied at 2. In a rainy Veterans Stadium for Game 3, Paul Molitor played first base in place of John Olerud. But all of Cito Gaston's second-guessers were quickly silenced as Molitor drove in 3 runs, scored 3 times, and had 3 hits. And the Blue Jays clobbered the Phillies 10-3 to lead the series 2-1. Game 4 featured the highest run-scoring binge in series history. 13 runs crossed the plate in the first 3 innings, and both teams kept pouring it on. But just when the Phillies thought the battle was over, their 5-run lead miraculously vanished.
Down to third. Fair ball. Hollins couldn't play it. Here comes Carter around to score. Olerud to third. Base hit. Olerud scores. Molitor is stopped at third. Payoff pitch way outside. And the tying run is at first for Toronto. Line to center. Dykstra can't get it. 2-run score. And the Blue Jays are within a run. It's 14-13. Little looper. Long run for Dykstra. In right center. Can't get it. Borders around with the tying run. Henderson to the plate with the go-ahead run. 15-14 Toronto.
The onslaught was finally over. After 29 runs, including 6 in the 8th inning alone, the Blue Jays were 1 away from a world championship. But in Game 5, Curt Schilling slammed the door on Toronto's offense and brought the Phillies back from the brink with a 5-hit shutout. Toronto had lost, but one way or another, the World Series would be won on Canadian soil. And the way Game 6 started, it looked as if the home team might be the ones to win it.
Reducing the likelihood of a Game 7 somewhat with a tremendous blast into the second deck and left.
But Lenny Dykstra solidified his great World Series by sparking a 7th-inning rally off Dave Stewart that produced 5 runs and a 6-5 Philly lead. And then it happened. With 1 out in the bottom of the 9th, Mitch Williams delivered to Joe Carter. And for one magical moment, life was perfect.
Well hit down the left field line. Way back and gone! Joe Carter with a 3-run homer. The winners and still world champions, the Toronto Blue Jays.
Having done what no team in 15 years had been able to do, the Toronto Blue Jays and Joe Carter were sitting on top of the world again.
It was just an exciting feeling. That's storybook. That's a storybook way to end the game.
Last year, I think all the people here in Toronto had to party without us being here. Now, they get a chance to see us win back-to-back World Series. That's, it's incredible.
It put another ring on our finger, another trophy on our, shelves. It's great.
Now I've got back-to-back titles, and now we're going to work on the third one. But first, we're going to enjoy the second one.
Swing and a belt, left field, way back, Blue Jays win it! The Blue Jays are World Series champions!
People say they want a 3-peat. Well, I got 3 more fingers on this one hand. I'd like to fill it up with rings.
Representing this organization, this city, this province, this country has made me very proud. Thank you very much.
I didn't win the game. We all did. We play as a team, we win as a team, and we lose as a team. And right now, we're back-to-back world champions, and the only thing's better is the 3-peat. Thank you very much.
Here we go, John. Unveil.
Unveil it. Thank you.